Welcome back to Access Anime. My name is Henshin Ikeda, and today I'll be doing a walkthrough review of Magi, episode 18. Now, if you remember from last episode, we find out Chasm has been defeated. He's no longer a Dajian, and he's now dead. He kind of just vanishes. I'm like, wow, did not see that coming. At the same time, we see Isnan, and he's running away with Judel. Man, seriously, you're running away from a fight? Well, at least you're cutting your losses, right? Now, moving on past that, guess what? Isnan didn't run away. Yeah, Sinbad and his subordinates, Musaru and Jafar, intercept them and they defeat him. However, Judel has already been transported to a different location and is now with Isnan's organization known as Al Thaman, and that's where the episode ends. And I'll have my final thought and rating at the end of the clip, so stay tuned. Let's dive right on in. So we open up this episode. Now we're actually back in Bolbad. Yeah, we're still in Bolbad, and we see all these citizens. They're rebuilding Bolbad, so I'm like, okay, so there's no revolution. It's not there. It's now the peace and quietness, the serenity that Bolbad should have originally had, and they're just rebuilding everything. Now we see a little cutscene with Alibaba, and he's been bitten by a snake. Now we have no idea where the snake came from, but it vanishes, so it's not an ordinary snake, but he's not poisoned. But I'm curious to know why the snake bit him and who sent the snake. Now moving on past that, guess what? A guard bursts right in and tells Alibaba as well as everyone else, yeah, there's a report, this big report. Apparently there's a huge armada of these ships from the Ku Empire. They've been spotted. I was like, what? So wait a minute, I thought the princess squared this little deal away that the Ku Empire wasn't going to do anything until they had everything figured out. Well, guess what? The Ku Empire, they set an armada out ahead of time regardless of the situation. So I'm like, those backstabbing SOBs. Yeah, I didn't see that coming. Nah. So we're taking to a different scene with Sinbad, and he's actually telling, well, not just telling, but asking Alibaba to run. Don't stay here, run, because he fears that the Ku Empire, if the Ku Empire gets their hands on, well, Alibaba, as well as anyone else that's part of the former royal, well, the former monarchy, that they might actually reinstate the monarchy and make a puppet government out of them. So that's what he kind of fears. So he's telling Alibaba, get the hell out of here, run. And Alibaba turns to him and says, no. I was like, I'm going to stay here, I'm going to fight. And I was like, there you go, Alibaba, you got some backbone. And then Sinbad knocks him out. I was like, why, man? Why'd you got to do that? Why'd you got to do that? But we're taken to a different scene, obviously, with Alibaba, and he's now awake, and he's on a ship that's bound for Sindra. And at the same time, you see Sinbad, and he's actually heading toward the Ku Empire, because that's the promise he made to the princess. But again, that's where we open up with. Now, moving on past that, we're taken to a different scene. We're in Sindra. And guess what? We see Morgana and Musaru. They're fighting, or should I say they're training. Interesting. By the way, Sindra, it may be a small island, but it is huge. I mean, you see a lot of beautiful countryside, and I love it. But moving on past that, guess what? Sinbad has returned, and it's been about 1 month. I'm like, 1 month? Really? Well, time does fly. So we're taken to a different scene with Sinbad, and he's basically explaining the outcome with the negotiations between the Ku Empire and Bolbad, and how he just was the mediator in between this. And it was kind of interesting. Apparently the Ku Empire will actually be taking control of Bolbad, but they recognize that Bolbad is a republic, so they recognize the rights of Bolbad as a republic. I'm like, okay. So, you know, Alibaba's liking this so far. Now, apparently they won't be forced into slavery, which is a plus thing, right? However, guess what? Bolbad's extraterritorial rights, their rights to a tariff, won't be dealt with so easily. They're like non-existent, so the Ku Empire still has some pull, obviously. So I'm like, that doesn't sound right. No. So we're taking to a different scene with Alibaba, and Alibaba is basically saying he's going to support Bolbad from a distance in his own way, in silence, in this quietness. I'm like, okay. Yeah, whatever works for you. I mean, he's changed over a 1 month period, so he's kind of come to terms with what's happened. However, he's being told that the organization known as Al Thaman, yeah, they're going to go after him. So I was like, yeah, that's not good information. So some random organization that Isnan belonged to is now going after you? For what? Ruining their like little revolution, their coup they had going on? Yeah, probably. So we're taking to a different scene with Sinbad, and apparently Sinbad wants to help Alibaba out. So I was like, okay, so he wants to take out Al Thaman. So we find out Sinbad wants to help Alibaba take out this organization. I'm like, okay, not just the Ku Empire, but this organization. So I'm like, okay. However, Sinbad, he wants both, you know, Alibaba and Aladdin to start training, because they're just getting used to their powers. They're still weak as fuck, so they're not really doing anything spectacular. So he figures, you know what, if you guys are going to fight these guys, get stronger, and guess what? We've got people on the island that can help you. So we're being tossed a little information. Guess what? There's a water mage on the island, a water mage, who actually is going to help, Aladdin in general with his magic. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. Even though, a magi is stronger than a magician, but, it's kind of interesting. I can't wait to see where that's going to take us. However, we are also thrown a little more information. Guess what? There's a skilled swordsman on the island that can help Alibaba. I'm like, okay, that intrigues me. I can't wait to find that out. But before we hear any more information, a guard bursts in, basically says there's a southern sea creature that's been spotted on the east shore. So they're about to be attacked by this huge creature. I'm like, Sinbad looks at this as an opportunity to show both Alibaba and Aladdin what his generals are capable of as well as himself. So he assembles his generals and he's actually going to deal with this creature firsthand. I'm like, this is interesting, but it's not. Because guess what? They make a contest out of it. We see two generals, which are both of the instructors that'll be teaching both Aladdin and Alibaba what to do over time on this island. I thought that was worth mentioning, and they're taking part into this competition. And I was like, they kill the creature with these two generals. Out of all 8 generals, 2 of these generals take out this sea creature, and they mince it out. I don't know how to describe it, not mince, but they chop up this creature like it was nothing. And it was kind of amazing. And they basically give all the meat to the people. Like, so they kill this creature like a contest, and it was to feed all the people of Sindra. Like, well, that's kind of interesting. They always make a competition, it looks like, when they're about to be attacked, and the people love it. I like it. Now we're introduced to a new character in the next scene. Her name is Yumera. Yeah, guess what? She's the water mage, and I like her so much. She was one of the generals that was actually in the contest. Yeah, I liked her. She's kind of interesting. Now she'll actually be teaching Aladdin how to use his magic, hopefully a little better. She's going to be his instructor, and Aladdin sees her boobs and jumps into them. I love it. Amazing scene. However, yeah, Yumera, she uses her water magic to use like steam, like the heat of the steam on Aladdin to freak him out and to shut him up, to kind of scare him, and it doesn't really work, but it does kind of, push him away, and like, that was still funny. I love seeing that. However, we're taken to a different scene with another new character, which was the other general, which is actually fighting the sea creature. His name is Shuriken, and I like him. He's actually going to be teaching Alibaba how to use the sword style, technically. He'll be the instructor, and I like him. He's pretty cool in my opinion. I mean, he's also a general, by the way. Now we're taken to a different scene. Now after they defeat this creature, they slice it up in a dozen little pieces. Apparently that contest is also part of the festival they're having. So when they defeat a creature, they have a festival. And their festival is called Managaran. I believe that's how you pronounce it. It's with an M, Managaran. I hope I pronounced that right. And that's a festival they're having in honor of the contest of, defeating this creature. And I thought it was kind of interesting. So you see all these villagers of Sindra, all the citizens, having a fun time, partying, getting down. Interesting little festival. I love it. They're so high-spirited. I love it. However, we are taken to a different scene with Sinbad, and he introduces his generals. Remember, I said he had 8 generals. We only know about 4 of them, technically. We have Musaru, Jafar, now Shuriken we were just introduced to, obviously, and Yumera. So that's 4, or at least those are the ones he just introduced already that we know of. Well, who else is there? I was like, I'm kind of curious. Come on, what else you got? So one of them's called Hanaho, or Hana, depending on how you want to pronounce his name. It's like Hinahoho, Hanaho or Hanaho, something like that. And he's from the Emek, well, he's an Emek warrior, and he's from the North Pole area, like the uncharted, undiscovered area of the North Pole. He's big, and he has kids. Apparently, almost all of these generals have wives. Almost, not all of them, but I thought it was definitely worth mentioning. He's definitely pretty strong. Now we're introduced to another character, and my favorite one, his name is Drakon. And Drakon, or Drakon, depending on how you want to pronounce his name, looks like a dragon, but apparently he used to be a human. And Drakon is actually a former Pave soldier. I hope I pronounced it right. Paiva soldier. They don't really tell us what country he's from. I'm assuming it's called Paiva, and he's a former Paive soldier. Definitely worth mentioning, and he looks like a dragon, a green one, I believe. I like him. He's got this amazing look. Now we're introduced to another character. Her name is Pasta, or Pasta, depending on how you want to call her name. It can't be Pasta because there's no A. It's like P-I-S-T-I, Piesta, and she's actually also from Paravi. Yeah, that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry. It's called Paravi. So she's from the same area as Drakon, and that's all we really know about her. Nothing special. I mean, we don't really know any of their powers or abilities too much, really. And we're introduced to one more general. His name is Spardos, and he's from Sasan. And I love these characters. The majority of them are married. However, both Shuriken and Ymer, they act like they're a married couple, but they're not. But definitely these generals are amazing, and I can't wait to see more about them. Their background, their story, how they became who they are. Can't wait. Now we're taking to a different scene with Sinbad. Now he's got a kind of bad news, but not really. He basically tells Alibaba the Ku Empire during the negotiations they made a request. They want one of their princes to study in Syndra, but we don't know to study what. The culture, the trade routes, what? Maybe their strategies in warfare? I don't really know, but that is kind of disturbing information. However, we are taken to a different scene at the end of the episode with Morgana, and she's basically telling Aladdin and Alibaba for their permission, well, basically Alibaba's permission to stay with them to fight Al-Thaman, which is the organization. Even though she's so close to going home, she could go home right now, she wants to stay by their side. Alibaba almost was going to say no, but then Aladdin jumps right in and basically says, "You don't need our permission, do what you want." And she was just like, "Then I'm going to stay with you guys. I'm going to fight Al-Thaman with you." And then you hear both Aladdin and Alibaba compliment what Morgana is wearing. Morgana looks beautiful. I was like, wow, she looks beautiful. And this is during the festival. And Alibaba compliments, Morgana to her face. Like, "You look beautiful. Wow." And her heart starts beating. And guess what? She starts dancing. I don't know what the name of her dance is, but it is beautiful. I started having this like tingly feeling inside of me, like, wow, you can see the emotion she's going through. She's happy for once in her life. She's excited. And she's being excited through her dance style, and I like it. But again, that's where the episode ends. As for final thoughts, well, first of all, what's the name of the dance that Morgana is actually doing? We don't really know the name of it, but it's amazing. And are we going to see it again in other episodes? I hope so. I like seeing her happy. She's an amazing character, and I can't wait to see more. Moving on past that, more about Al-Thaman. Now, I'm curious. At the beginning of this episode, we saw it looks like a snake bite Alibaba, and then it disappears, kind of shriveled up. Did Al-Thaman send that to them to take out Alibaba or do something, put a tracer on him? I'm curious if, Al-Thaman had anything to do with that. Just putting that out there. Moving on past that, now we get to see all of Sinbad's generals. I love them. I hope we get to find out more of their background, how they became the generals, what their powers are, and do they know anyone that's part of Al-Thaman maybe, or part of the Ku Empire? We really don't know. And as for Sinbad and the princess from the Ku Empire, Kuguru, depending on how you want to pronounce her name, of course, I always pronounce it wrong. I'm wondering, did he do anything to her? Remember, he actually visited the Ku Empire because of what she had to say, and he was there for the negotiations, obviously. Did they do anything? Remember, Sinbad is single, he hasn't taken a wife, and his generals keep telling him, you need to take a wife, you need to have kids. So I'm curious to find out, did anything really happen? But again, that ends it for my final thoughts. As for my rating, 3.5 out of 5. I want to give this a 4 based on Morgana's dance alone, but I can't do that. It was amazing, but, the episode in general wasn't that much, that wasn't that interesting. Was there new information? Oh, hell yes! Hell yes, we get to find out more about Bulbat and what happened between Bulbat and the Ku Empire. We got new characters up the ass, so I love it. But was there any fighting? Yeah, I guess. We got to see 2 of the generals fight the sea creature, but that really wasn't a fight, because obviously they were done deal. Dead, done. So I liked it. But, emotional-wise, we saw Morgana, but Morgana was the high point, in my opinion, of this episode. Other than that, there really wasn't a lot that shined throughout this episode, in my opinion, so final rating, 3.5 out of 5. But again, guys, that ends it for my walkthrough review of Magi episode 18. But definitely comment down below, let me know, thumbs up, thumbs down, definitely subscribe, check me out on Twitter, and follow me if you like. But definitely let me know what you thought of this episode, and let me know what you think's gonna happen in the next episode that's coming out. But again, guys, I gotta hit the bricks, and I gotta go. And before I go, I have to say it, and I always say it, you can't stop the access, but you can watch the feed. I'll see you later, guys.